In today's video, we're going to look at the key metrics that you should be monitoring in your estate agency business to make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck every single day. We're going to look at everything from the percentage of properties you put on the market to your fall through rate down the end of the line as well. That's one thing I've recognized in business and working with estate agencies over the last 20 years. It's that nipping and tucking these figures can make a huge difference at the end of the year to your estate agency. A quick 5% improvement here, 10% improvement there, 30% improvement there adds up to a whole new business later down the line. So to start off with, let's look at the listing rate you should be looking for in your estate agency. Now, on average in the UK, the average homeowner calls out 3 estate agents to value their property. Now, I know what you're thinking. By default, you should get 33%, and you're absolutely right. As an absolute worst case scenario, you should get a third of all properties come on the market with yourself. This means I went out to value 100 homes, 33 should come on the market with myself. Now, I know what you're thinking. 33% doesn't really set any records, and you're absolutely right. And the line in the sand always be looking for is about a 50% conversion rate from valuation to instruction. So this means when it goes value 100 properties, 50 of them should come on the market with yourself. Now, there is a negative side to having a really good figure here. So let's say, for example, you sat in front of me today and say, Chris, I'm amazing at valuing properties. I get 75, 80% of all the properties I go and value onto the market. Well, in that case, I would come back to you and say, you need to put your fees up. Simply put, if your valuation to instruction ratio is too high, you're almost too good at doing what you do. And therefore, you should be increasing your fees from where it is today. So let's say we're sat today at 1.5% commission on the sale price per property, and we're converting 65%, 70% of those properties are coming on the market with ourselves, then I'll be saying it's time to put that commission up, or at least charge an upfront payment to increase that figure over time. But either way, you're almost too good at getting properties on the market, how everything is set up at the moment. So you're better off actually taking less properties on the market, but with a higher commission for the ones that do come on the market with yourself. So always having a really fantastic conversion rate isn't always good news as it looks on paper, because it means you need to put your fees up because it almost is too good currently. But if you're looking at these figures on the other hand and going, actually, Chris, I'm more like 30%, 40%, and maybe 50% if I really, really push it, in that case, you've got some fixes you need to make in your estate agency. Now, don't worry, these aren't always to do with yourself and what you're saying on evaluation. What you generally find is a large percentage of the UK population actually decide which agent they're going to go with before you even walk to the front door. Now, a little bit of a story here. Last time I went to our hotel, I was greeted with a glass of champagne. And the reason I was greeted with a glass of champagne is they want to set the bar as high as they possibly could do early on. So people make the decision about a business really early on in the relationship. So therefore, you really want to front load as much as you possibly can do to make sure they think you're great as soon as you possibly can. And because such a large percentage of homeowners decide who they're going to go with before you even walk to the front door, this is where you really want to wow people between the stage of valuations being booked and you actually turning up for the valuation. So if you're watching these figures and thinking to yourself, I'd really like to improve them, my really quick win for yourself is look at what you're doing before a valuation takes place and the booking process, your pre-valuation process. Some quick wins there can easily improve your percentage in your conversion rate. Right, next up, so let's look at sales rates in the estate agency. This is how many properties are going to go under offer and have an offer agreed on them for all the stock you've got on the market. Now, I'm going to put a nice little disclaimer here. This is going to vary from market to market. Let's say we're in a really busy, buoyant market where everything is selling. You might find 90% of your stock is under offer at any time because you're beating those buyers off with a stick. Now, the other side of the coin, if there's a recession or the market is really tight or the mortgage rates are terrible, you'll find actually the sales rate is going to be far, far lower just because there's less buyers in the market. There's less kind of money sloshing around. So therefore, there's less people buying properties at the moment. But what we'll look at is just like an average over time. Now, I would always look for at least half your properties being under offer at any time. So if you've got 10 properties in total, let's say you've got 5 for sale and 5 under offer, that is bang on where you should be at the moment. If anything, I would look at there is maybe having a slight percentage or two more under offer. So for example, you might have 4 for sale and 6 under offer. I'm absolutely fine with that. But you're looking generally around a 50-50 split. Now, for agencies that I work with that don't have that split at the moment, they usually have more properties for sale than they've got under offer. Now, this is where you've got the lowest hanging fruit in any estate agency business. And that is properties you've been out to value, You've got them on the market, you've presented them well, and they're just simply not selling. 9 times out of 10, that is a pricing issue. So if you're looking at these figures and going, I don't have a 50% sales rate at the moment, well, look at your stock you've got on the market, look at the pricing of those properties. Is there anything we can change there? That's probably going to give you a couple of quick wins, which will change you from a 30% under offer rate to more like a 50% conversion rate, which is exactly where we want it to be. Okay, so let's look at fall through rate. This is like a estate agency's dirty little secret. So it is baffling to me why the industry fall through rate is on average 30%. So basically you've got a 1 in 3 chance that if you agree a sale, it's going to fall through, which in my mind just absolutely blows it. So you are looking for as smaller figure here as you possibly can do. Lots of the clients I work with have a 1 in 9, 1 in 10, 1 in 11 fall through rate. If you find you've got a really high fall through rate, what you're probably doing is rushing your sales together too quickly at the beginning. You need to investigate things like people's affordability, chains, what step they're up to with regard to selling their own property, for example. What you're trying to do is iron out as many of the things that could catch you out late down the line, literally on day one. And what that might mean sometimes is not even agreeing the deal at all. If you think to yourself, look, this is never going to happen. This guy hasn't got a mortgage agreed. His property's been on the market for the last 5 years. It hasn't even got a viewing on it, let alone an offer. You might look at that and go, that's a headache in the future. I'm actually better off not agreeing this property to that buyer. So if you're watching this thing yourself, I want to improve my conversion rate with regard to my fall through rate. So therefore I want to make it so that's as low as it possibly can do. Look at the way you're agreeing these deals to start off with. If you're rushing them together, it's kind of like a bit of an easy come, easy go. I agreed it in 30 seconds, it will just fall through in 30 seconds. If we spend a little bit more time making sure they're completely aligned when you first do a deal, chances are they'll hold together for the entire sales progression process. And last but not least, average fee. So the average fee in the UK is a little over 1%. It's about 1.1%. Now, good news, as an industry, this is going up because it used to be about 1%. So it's gone from 1% to 1.1. And I can see in the future, it's going to be more like 1.2 and then obviously upwards from there. So good news, it's going in the right direction. But you need to be looking at your business and going, is my fee increasing? Now, this can either be as a percentage or as a monetary amount. Now, obviously, you can't pay your mortgages with percentages. It's all about the income that comes in at the end of the day. So you might say, actually, my percentage is going up, but you're selling cheaper properties, for example. Well, that equals pretty much the same in the grand scheme of things. Whereas if your percentage is staying the same, but instead of selling £500,000 properties, you're selling £1 million properties, high five, well done to you. Your commission has quite literally doubled. But the golden rule here, short of sort of jumping from sort of market to market, if you're still selling the same sort of properties as you were selling 6 months ago, is your income increasing over time? Did you used to be at 0.9%, then you went to 1%, then you went to 1.1%? Has it got that upwards trajectory on the money you're charging people to sell their property? If it hasn't, and you haven't increased your fee for the last couple of months or so, it's probably well worth looking at that and seeing where can you make those wins. And from personal experience with the clients I work with as well, this doesn't need to be some mega leap from 1% to 2%, for example. You can simply just say, great, from today, my fee is going from 1.2 to 1.3, for example, or 1.3 to 1.4, or even 1.35. There's almost a limitless amount of numbers that you can choose from in that fee equation. You don't need to make any massive jumps. And then all you need to do is say exact same things you would do normally, but instead of saying my fee is 1.2%, you say my fee is 1.3%. And then just move on in the same way you'd move on before. That is the only difference. Believe me when I say your fee is a far, far bigger deal to you than it is to any homeowner out there. Okay, so that is a wrap on today's video. I guarantee if you know where you're at with those 4 key metrics in your business, number of properties you list on the market, how many you sell, how many fall through, and your average fee over time, you can have a really good idea about what you're doing well and where the improvements could be made. If you want a free copy of my best-selling book, Your First £100,000 Estate Agency, you can download a copy by DMing us the word book over on Instagram, and that'll come straight across to yourself. I'll catch you on the next video.